Let me squeeze in, if we can, on this issue. We've been talking the governor coming and then not coming and then coming and then not coming. We're hearing from Assemblyman Brindisi that he is hearing an announcement, Quad C announcement, is still coming today. It won't involve the governor, but it could still come today.
Possibly coming today.
Possibly is the word that I think that he used. The county executive, Anthony Picente, is on the line right now. The good news is that we're talking about positive things happening. I guess that's a positive, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And, this flipping back and forth, this always happens during budget cycle. I've been through this so many times. They're coming, and then there's something negotiating or things that they want to have to be done, and the governor stays back. And I think we went through this actually last year at the same time for some other piece. But anyway,
so
we'll see what happens.
I'm going to see what comes today. Of course, we kind of I couldn't hold on to the cat. I had the cat in the bag for a long time on this pumpkin patch thing, and finally I'm like, we just have to let it out. So that's good news for Herkimer County. But let's talk about health care. Obviously, your eyes got to be wide open when you hear, we're going to take the burden from the county and give it back to the state when it comes to Medicaid. But on the other hand, the health care bill, this Trump care, Ryan care, repeal of Obamacare, whatever it is, everybody's saying this is going to have nasty effects on New York State and Central New York.
Well, yeah, that's what we hear, and that's what we read in terms of what even what the Congressional Budget Office, which is really nonpartisan, says about it. And then when you hear directly from healthcare providers, like especially, I have to be concerned about my own backyard when Scott Paris says it's going to cost them millions of dollars in terms of what happens on reimbursements, but. Yeah, it's hard because I've said all along, look, you want to remove $55 million, that's a great thing, from our budget, and we've been crying for that and pleading for that for, I've been for 10 years in office and everybody else for 40 before that. So that's one piece, but if it comes at the expense of everything else going up and the slashing of Medicaid, where are those costs going to get passed on? And I think, I listened to the former congressman, my good friend Mike Arcuri, speak a few moments ago, and nobody knows better about what happens when you try to rush a bill through. And look, that's the confusing part of this. The president has 4 years, the Congress he has, and the majority has 2, and he's been in office less than 2 months, and they're going down the same path that Congress after Congress continues to do, and that is to say, okay, we're going to fix this campaign promise in 20 minutes. Yeah. And that's really the problem here. Take your time. Take a step back. Look, Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, however you want to refer to it, the way it is, has cost us money on the county level as an employer and as well as a provider. So, I'm not saying it's to keep it in place, but then you got it in place, and now what's the transition process moving out of this over the next couple of years and into this new, if this thing does pass, and where do you go from there? So, we're back, and it's learn from your mistakes, learn from what happened years ago, and take a step back. You got time to do this the right way, but this is constantly what happens down in Congress.
Well, because
time and time again.
It's not about at some point you want your Congress people to say, well, the country is more important than my political career, and here we go. And part of this is because they were talking about constant. We're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to do it, but it's easy to say that when there's a Democratic president that's not going to allow that to happen. And
exactly.
Oh, by the way, nobody thought Donald Trump was going to be president. They thought they were going to be right back in the same position, saying repeal, and President Clinton would be the one that would be vetoing that. But all of a sudden, this happened, and I think everybody's been caught off guard. But they've plowed forward. I'm not sure that's the way to go.
Well, and I think the New York, to an extent, some of the New York delegation are pushing this 55, these savings on Medicaid, which, as I said, love to have it. Can't stand on the other side of that in any way, shape, or form. But what's the expense it comes at, and are you doing it the right way? And so don't sell it to the people that we're going to save on this hand when you're going to take it from them on the other, and you're going to end up cutting services and then burdening people all over again with a whole new plan that doesn't do what it set out to do.
Are you fearful that if this were to pass today, if this does pass today, and it did ultimately pass the Senate, which many believe won't ever happen anyway?
I don't think that'll happen.
But if it did, are you concerned that it would kill the hospital deal, the money that's coming for the hospital?
Well, I think the hospital would. I think all hospitals would take a step back and take a look at whatever other investments they're having. But clearly, on this one, it's something that you'd have to be concerned about because of the bottom line, and that's something that clearly has. I sit in a different role, I guess, and I say county executives around the state sit in a different role because we're providers. We have to deal with people who are on Medicaid and with our care providers to look at these things. So we just can't look at it from fix it, it's a bad bill, let's do it. We have to look at the big picture and how it impacts. And if it impacts, first of all, the community health care issue, that's the number one problem. Clearly it has an impact on how we deliver services and how we can end up dealing with services to our people. And if the state then, if Medicaid gets cut as a result of this, the Medicaid costs get cut, and our Medicaid share gets cut. Now, and I've been saying this for the last week, what's the other shoe that's going to drop on the state level? Are they taking sales tax? Are they taking other program money? Right. Or are we just going to have a lot of people without health care again?
County Executive Anthony Picente, boy, this stuff is moving very quickly, and before we know it,
we'll see what happens today.
Yeah, all right. Okay, and of course the state budget, a lot to be watched there, and that of course is due on the 1st. So thank you so much for taking the time this morning.
Okay, thanks a lot.
County Executive Anthony Picente.